I'm Suli. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. For today's video, it's a video that I am so excited about making, especially now with this whole quarantine and boredom going on. I don't know why I didn't think about making this video before, because it's one of my favorite topics, television. But hey, perfect timing with the quarantine and everything going on right now. So for today's video, I have my top 10 recommendations for Netflix. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with today's video. Okay, so the first thing that I want to say to you guys is that everything that I'll be recommending in this video and everything that I'll be talking about in this video are just shows and movies that I personally enjoyed and I personally like, so that I want to recommend. It's not because they're the most popular shows out there or the most recent or whatever. These are just my personal recommendations, and I hope that if you decide to go check them out and you guys decide to go binge watch any of the shows or movies that I'm going to recommend here today, that you enjoy it and that you comment down below and let me know how you enjoyed them. And if you guys have your own recommendations or your own suggestions, I would love for you guys to comment them down below and I will check them out as well. So with that being thrown out there, let's go ahead and get started with our first recommendation. Oh, and by the way guys, if you guys just see me looking down on my phone, it's just because this is where I have my list of recommendations, okay? So let's get started. Now the first show I want to recommend to you guys is Grey's Anatomy. Now this show is 16 seasons long, and it's about a group of interns and their journey through the first couple years as interns, residents, and all the way up to doctors. Now if you guys like drama, medicine, action, comedy, and pretty much all of the above, you guys will really enjoy this show. So this show follows the life of Meredith Grey and her journey throughout her intern years and her resident years, all the way up to when she becomes a doctor, and a bunch of things happen throughout the show with her, her friends, her mom. It's a crazy show. I really enjoyed it, and it actually made me kind of emotional in some parts. So if you guys like to have a bit of action, a little bit of drama, a little bit of sexy, a little bit of tears, this will be the show for you. Now if you guys like comedy and a little bit of dirty humor, my next recommendation for you guys is Big Mouth. This is an animated series that was recently released on Netflix, and it's basically about a bunch of middle school kids going through puberty, and pretty much if you really watch it, you can like tell that it is inappropriate. I will put that out there. It's inappropriate, but it is hilarious, and it basically covers everything that we as preteens and teenagers go through when we're in middle school, going through puberty, and basically it gives a dark and funny sense of humor to all the milestones in life when it comes to liking boys, liking girls, your sexuality, the way your body changes, the way your mind changes, pretty much just how growing up is basically. This show is just a little bit of dark humor and inappropriate jokes about growing up, and it's hilarious. A little inappropriate, but hilarious. Moving on to number 3, I have a movie named The Wrong Missy. Now this movie just recently came out on Netflix. If you haven't seen it yet, it's basically about this serious guy who goes on a blind date and is horrible because the girl's pretty much psycho. And then he meets another girl with the same name, and then I'm not trying to give out too much, I'm not trying to spoil it or anything, but basically he starts texting the wrong one, and from there on things just escalate. He ends up having to go to a work trip, and he invites the one he thinks is the one he met in the airport, but he ends up inviting the wrong Melissa, and well, things from there take a turn. So if you guys like comedy and inappropriate jokes, go ahead and watch that movie. You won't regret it. Moving on to number 4. Now this next show that I'm gonna mention, it's kind of old, but it's still pretty good. I have binged this show like 3 or 4 times already, and it's called Charmed. It's about 3 sisters who are witches, and they have to fight demons and warlocks and all these evil things that are trying to take over their lives, take over their powers, and at the same time trying to maintain a normal life and a sisterhood. Basically an action filled with drama and comedy at some points as well. So for my next recommendation, if you guys like music and you guys like Christina Aguilera and Cher, then you guys will absolutely enjoy this movie. It's called Burlesque. It basically follows the story of this small town girl who has big dreams of becoming a singer and moving to LA. So she ends up just saying screw it and she goes for it. She moves to LA and she tries to start her life, and she ends up finding this burlesque club where she starts off as a waitress and keeps harassing the owner until they finally give her a chance to be on stage, and then she just crushes it. Of course, if you know Christina Aguilera, you know her voice is just amazing. So there is this one scene where she just blows everybody's mind. That's actually my favorite scene of the whole movie. And from there on, she becomes really popular with everybody in the club, and well, let's just leave it at that because I don't want to give you guys too much. I don't want to spoil anything. So if you guys want to watch it for yourselves, I'm just gonna leave it at there. Moving on to my next one on my list. Now, if you like a little bit of horror, a little bit of gore, a little bit of mythical creatures, I have the next recommendation, which is the Vampire Diaries trilogy. And I say trilogy because there's like three shows in one. There's the Vampire Diaries, then there's the originals, and then there's Legacies. They're all like spin-offs of each other. I recently myself just finished binging Vampire Diaries, and it's about two brothers who fall in love with the same girl twice. And without giving too much away, they fall in love with the same girl, and they pretty much turn her life upside down, because if you really think about it and you really look at it, that poor girl's life turns upside down after she meets these boys. I mean, they're both hot, no doubt about that, but the fact that they're vampires and she got involved in their life, like everything that happens from there on is basically the vampire's fault. Like if they would have never gotten in her life, technically yeah, that wouldn't be a show, but her life would have never gotten so messed up. But if you like vampires, you like witches, werewolves, doppelgangers, this is the show for you. And if you didn't get enough with all that, move on to the originals and Legacies, which is like just spin-offs of the original. And they're all really good shows. I actually enjoyed them all. So moving on to my next show, if you guys like comedy, novelas, and American shows, then you guys will love Jane the Virgin. Now, Jane the Virgin is basically a show about a virgin who gets pregnant by, she gets inseminated. Let's just say it like that. She gets inseminated. I hope I said that right. I don't even know if I said that right. But moving on. She gets inseminated by accident. She gets inseminated by accident, and thereon her life's just, yeah. So basically, okay, so this show is basically a novella and an American TV show put into one, and add some comedy in there. It's an amazing show. I'm gonna leave it at that. So I'm just gonna leave it at that because I don't want to give away too much. And if you guys haven't seen it and you guys want to see it, go ahead and check it out. It's totally binge-worthy, hilarious, and just a little bit of emotional. So for my next recommendation, I have this movie called Just Friends. Now this movie is basically about this guy who during his whole high school years he had a crush on his best friend, but he was really chunky and chubby and his best friend was really skinny and cute and popular, and she never really saw him that way. And in their high school graduation party, he got humiliated and he ended up leaving, and nobody saw him again for 10 years. And when he comes back, he's this hotshot, rich, successful music producer or something like that, and he has a plane accident where he ended up going back to his hometown, and when he comes back, well, he's a hottie. And anybody that knows Ryan Reynolds knows exactly what I'm talking about. Now this movie is really funny, it's really emotional, it has a little bit of everything. So if you guys like romantic comedies, this is a good one. Now my next recommendation I have for you guys is for anybody who has small children, or just anybody actually, because even me myself, I enjoy this movie quite a lot. My son just absolutely loves it. It is Hotel Transylvania 3. So if you guys know Hotel Transylvania, you basically know what it's about. It's basically about vampires, monsters, but the nice kind, I guess. In this one, it's summer vacation. So basically what happens is that everybody goes on vacation, they go on a cruise, and the main vampire actually ends up zinging with a human who is actually trying to kill him because she's a Van Helsing. But it's full of laughs, love, joy, good music, and it's just a very family-friendly, fun movie to watch with your family, with your kids, with whoever, by yourself. It's an awesome movie. I enjoy it. I've seen it like 5,000 times thanks to my son, and I recommend it to anybody out there who hasn't seen it yet. For my next recommendation, I have another movie. This one actually came out, I think, last year on Netflix, and it's called Murder Mystery. Now, this movie is basically like the game Clue. So this couple goes on a vacation where they end up in this party where somebody ends up getting murdered, and then they all have to like work together and figure out who did what did who, what were they after. Like when you see it, you kind of like remind yourself like, this is like that mystery murder game. So if you guys ever played that game and you guys enjoyed that game or anything that has to do with murder mystery and comedy, because it's also very hilarious, I recommend this movie to you. Now, last but not least, my final recommendation for today, I have H2O. Anybody that knows me knows I love mermaids, not a secret. So when I found out about the show, I was in love with it. H2O is based on 3 girls who actually end up in this mysterious island, and they end up trapped under this cave. They have to find their way out, and they find like this little moon pool, and they end up jumping in it to swim out to the ocean to get out of the cave they were stuck in, but it wasn't full moon, so once they jumped in the pool, some magic happened, and they ended up turning into mermaids. And for anybody who's seen the originals knows that 2 of the main characters in originals are also 2 of the main characters in H2O, which is another reason why I actually ended up watching the originals, because I was curious about that. Anyway, they end up turning into mermaids, they end up becoming best friends, and they end up having to work together, keep their secret, and try to figure out what happened to them and why did it happen to them and how they can deal with it. It's actually a really good show. I loved it. I will rewatch it again and again. And for anybody who likes mythical creatures, I actually recommend this show because it's a fun, family-friendly show. Well, everybody, we have come to the end of this week's recommendation video. This is actually part 1 out of a 2-video series, with my next video being my top Hulu recommendations. If you guys have any recommendations of your own, or if you guys enjoy any of the recommendations I gave here today, go ahead and comment down below and let me know what shows or movies you guys enjoyed for yourselves, or what movies and shows you guys will recommend to me. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye!